think people were really interested to know our tools. And there are tools that I really want you to share. So, who wants to take this on? What were the tools that we used in our process to get this done?
I can absolutely start with our organization, the spreadsheet. So when I was pulled into this project, asked to join, I am a little bit of a obsessive digital organizer. I love spreadsheets and I love to collect things. I'm very librarian. Like you said, Messina, we're curious and we like to know things. I like to create lists of things. So I'll share my screen and Stacy, what do you think would be most powerful to see first? Our finished product first and then go backwards?
Yes. Let's consider that the wonderful people in front of us are like our learners.
All right, so I'm going to share my screen, and what this is I'm going to find where I'm going to share my screen now. Where is it? I know I have the host capabilities. Just got to find, there it is. Okay. Share. All right, so this is our ending spreadsheet. It's a huge one and it's got a lot of information in here. But these are all of the resources that were used in the course. And so I shared, I'll show you in just a moment the base where we started, but it turned into this big, lovely spreadsheet where we have all of our resources, what lesson they're in, the resource location, the licensing. This is something that Leslie or Stacy or Messina would add the item in here, and then I had the chance to go in and do my digging for licensing and
Megan,
what we could do.
Megan, I hate
Yeah,
to interrupt you. Will you just zoom in on that just a little
for
bit so people can
sure.
see it? Thank you so much. Sorry for
Yeah.
interruption, but just make it a little
No,
bigger. It
that's
is
a
pretty
great
small.
one. There we go. Yeah, is that better?
Much
Awesome.
better. Thank you.
Mhm. So I would come in and do my licensing piece, and then we also have our accessibility pass fail and our notes and everything. So each of us had a different part that we filled in on this sheet, but we all kind of worked here. This is where all of the resources were. So we could check the accessibility, check the licensing, have those notes. We've also got our citations and annotations as well. And Stacy, you can speak more to the calculators out here because that's not my piece. The calculators. But this was something that I started with, and the beginning of our tracker, this is kind of what it looked like at the very beginning. So I shared something that I had created for faculty. And now that you've seen kind of how we started, it turned into this big, beautiful product. My very first iteration of this was actually for my OER consultations with faculty. One of the things that I help them do is get started in finding OER. And this is the first iteration, this little table right here in a Word document where I had them list the resource title, resource link, and then I put in here the notes about OER. And this is a piece about OER that's interesting. When we're searching for OER, a lot of times we find a lot of different things that have different pieces in it that we like. So I always suggest that as faculty are looking through, instead of just like marking the book or bookmarking the link, writing down the title of the resource, I tell them, if you only like chapters 3, 7, and 9, put this in your notes, make those little notes, your thoughts about the OER, so you don't have to go back and review the whole thing again when you are finished looking at everything that you found. The other thing in here is that licensing can be stressful. And this is not something that I want faculty to stress about because this is part of my job. I want to support people. So I have a place for licensing, and I always tell them, if it takes you more than a minute or so to find the licensing, put unknown, and our team will figure it out for you. In my newest iteration for my faculty, I've actually built this form out a little bit more. so that now I have a drop down for them so they can choose a license. They don't have to type it in. And then based on what they choose, it will actually tell them what they can do with the resource based on the licensing. And so they can come in and fill in. If it says copyright, it talks about how we could link to it. We could possibly reach out to the publisher or choose not to use the resource and find something. So each one is connected to a different explaining what can be done with it. I added in to my form the accessibility part and attribution and APA citation that was part of Stacy's. And the 1 to 3 sentence annotation. So this is what I share with faculty now as part of their tracking. And so when I work with them on their projects, they are looking for OER to create or modify to create something new. And a lot of times they find a lot of stuff, and keeping all of this in one place with all of this information just really helps us work toward their project in a more efficient way. We're not having resources in all different places, different bookmarks and craziness. Stacy, did you want me to say anything else or?
First, I have a question. Do you have any idea how much you actually have a direct line from this document into and in front of students' eyes? We had that student facing version of this. You're present in that. It is very direct. We simplified this big time. And so students and a QMer can pull it up. We narrowed in. So all of the APA citations and the annotations are directly on the learning materials pages. But if anybody needs a cheat sheet, we have the APA citation, the annotation, the licensing, the accessibility pass-fail, and the workload. We narrowed it into only 5 columns, and that's what students see. And they can plan right now. We just didn't have time in 2.5 weeks for them to have to look and plan all their time. So your tool is in front of learners. So kudos to you.
Thank you. Thank you.
What other tools did you want to talk about? Because I know you all brought some.
Yeah, I'll let somebody else go, but I have other tools too. I just don't want to take the whole floor right now.
I'll just quickly say that the database we used, Simmons is the the library's tool, web-based tool that allows us to look at all 560 some odd databases at one time. And from there, what I did was picked out the ones that were specifically for nursing. We have 64 that are specifically in the nursing or health category. And so I looked through those and saw which ones had that supported videos and perioperative nursing specifically. So we looked at Sage and Gale. Megan had a list of the OER databases. So I looked at those to see what was available through those and pulled out what was possible, items that might be useful for the course, and had them forwarded to Leslie after she gave me some outline as to what she needed and what she wanted. So I looked on YouTube also, and I noticed that some things were from the same place, and that was the Association of Perioperative Nursing registered nurses. And so when I went to their website and looked at what they had some materials there for the study of the course for their association, for those that were doing continuing education courses, studying courses, getting ready to take their tests. And I said, Leslie, is there anybody on staff that's a part of this organization? Because they have a lot of the things that you may be wanting to use. And she goes, oh, I am. So there you go. That opened up a whole bunch of resources that she was able to glean from. One of the things that she brought to me, Leslie did when I was sending her things, was because some databases are international, and a lot of them are, And some of the materials were had a UK type of language, so I had to be cognizant of the language that was being used. If the licensure was the same, or that was something that had to be also considered for the database and for the courses. And let's see what else. If the rules were the same, if the laws were the same, when they were looking at, you know, SBAR and instruments and things like that. So a lot of that was just looking, finding, checking with Leslie and Stacy to make sure that that's what they needed. And I kind of went through a lot more than what I submitted to them, but when we went through that, it was yes, no, this isn't quite what I was looking for. Contacted a lot of other instructors for different things, and just kind of used the resources that we had. And I like that. That I'm living my dream job, people. You just don't know. This is what I love to do. So as a librarian, we, like I said, we don't have to know everything. We just need to know where to find it. And that's what we want you to come to us about. If you need help with anything, need help finding things, then we are at your disposal. So those were my tools, just the Simmons, the Gale, Sage, those are database titles, and then OER, the OER databases that Megan had, went through those. Marlo, OpenStax, I think she might talk about that too. So I'll leave it to
Yes.
you.
I believe that the OER that ended up mostly is we're using a lot of OpenStax textbooks. I don't know, I'll talk a little bit about OpenStax now. It makes sense. OpenStax is out of Rice University in Houston, and they have been working and creating OER for quite a while, longer than a lot longer than a lot of people have. If you haven't been to the OpenStax website, they for nursing especially, there's they just came out with a whole new set of nursing textbooks. But OpenStax, nonprofit educational initiative based out of Houston Rice. They provide high quality peer-reviewed textbooks and learning resources that are free for students to, they can purchase a hard copy, or they can access them online. They're openly licensed. Thank you for putting that in there, that OpenStax link to the nursing section. That's awesome. Everything's digital. They're free. The one thing we did notice was there's some accessibility things with the printed versions if they wanted to print, so, or download the PDF. We'll talk more about the accessibility stuff a little bit later. But what's great about OpenStax is they are, like, in themselves, they're great starts. If you find an OpenStax book that works perfect and you can just adopt it and just change your syllabus up a little bit, that's awesome. That's the most sustainable way we could use OER. But it's often the case that we can't find something that fits perfectly. OpenStax books are licensed as CC BY, which is the most open, means you can make a derivative of that book, add your own contextualizations, ancillaries, or anything extra that you want, and then just make sure you give attribution. But those are great places to start. They're really well-developed books.
And they have different subject areas too. So there's a wide variety of subject areas in OpenStax.
Mm-hmm. And they're still working and building their collection actively.
Stacy, I would love to jump in and show how the learning materials all align with our course map, because I think that is a great segue from the amazing spreadsheet we did. And I will also tell you all that on the annotations and the APA citations, I did use AI to create many of those. And so that was a really amazing tool to create the APA citations, which we all know they're not perfect. You have to do some checking, and obviously on the 2 to 3 sentence annotations for the annotated bib. Also had to do some checking, but it was super helpful for me to be able to use that. But I do want to share the first iteration of our course map with you all. I'm going to do that now. And hopefully this is big enough to see. But what I wanted to share with you at the very top here, and this first iteration, we had 4 course outcomes.
Sorry,
So
Leslie, you might actually want to come in a little bit.
It's too big?
No, as in go in, as to zoom in a little bit.
That? No? More?
It's a little better, yeah. Cheerio.
How that? Better? Okay. Thank you.
Perfection.
It's hard when you have these big mega screens to know what size it shows up for everyone else. So thank you for that reminder. Anyway, what I wanted to share, we did have 4 course outcomes at the very beginning. So again, this is our early iteration, but I really wanted to show that. So we had these 4 course outcomes, which we were able to, again, really, as we were really doing a deep dive, change them to 3. But then below this, of course, we had the Bloom's taxonomy levels for each of these. And then below them, we had every single lesson outcome with their Bloom's taxonomy level as well. And this assured that we were never having a course outcome that was higher than any of our lesson outcomes, right? So this was sort of our ability to look here and to make sure everything was in alignment. And then I'm going to scroll down for a minute. You can see all of Stacy and I's comments and working on the right. So then for each lesson, which we hadn't even titled them at this point, but this was the early iteration once again, we were like, here's what we want them to do in the lesson. What SLO does this go with? What course outcome does this go with? And then what are our graded assessments? Are we doing this live? Are we doing this in our LMS? What other activities, course activities, engagement activities are ungraded? And then eventually we added these materials to the right here. So I'm going to stop sharing this and show you the finished product so that you can see what it looked like. And this is one that we share forward facing with our students. So let me make this a little bigger. So this is our final version that we shared with our students. Now you may be wondering, why did we take the individual outcomes out? It was a bit redundant and made it lengthy to have them at the top and at the bottom. We provided each assignment summary so students would have a good overview of what we were expecting them to do. But again, down at the very bottom, I'm going to dizzy scroll everyone for a minute. We have each lesson outcome, which aligns with each student learning outcome or course outcome, assessment, directing them to the course schedule for due dates, how that's delivered, what ungraded activity. And then here on the far right, we included every learning material that directly aligned with each one of those lesson outcomes. And so you can see on the right-hand side for every single destination, and here again, we renamed them or named them their conventions that match identically with the LMS. We tell them exactly how long do we think that it's going to take you to work through each one of these destinations. So we have the workload time on here as well. And again, we have all of their activities. I'm going to continue scrolling because I just want to show you, we did the same thing for their simulation day, which is at the very end. We have this is their on-site day, what we expect them to come knowing how we're going to measure those assessments and those learning and lesson outcomes and how everything aligns together. So this was just a great tool. Again, it was a working document for us through the whole course. And then we did provide this once again for transparency with our students so they could see exactly how every learning material, assessment, learning activity aligned with each outcome and ultimately with the course outcome. And I will also share with you too that I also am accountable in the syllabus for making sure that every course outcome aligns with our BSN program outcomes. So I had to also create a chart in the syllabus to show that alignment. And even furthermore from that, what the AACN, which is the American Association for Colleges of Nursing, they have learning essentials. And I also had to show how those were aligned with the AACN competency-based learning essentials that came out too. So full transparency, lots of work, obviously, lots of critical thinking skills. And then also too, there was a few things. I love history. I love to travel and I love history. So I had a history lesson in the course because I think, why would anyone not want to talk about history and learn about the history of perioperative nursing and some of the archaic methods we used to do when we would, cut people's legs off and things. And Stacy actually nixed that entire section from my course because she said, well, what learning outcome does this go with? What program outcome does this go with? What course outcome does this go with? And I was just like, blah, blah, blah. And I'm thinking, well, I can make it fit somewhere, but really, ultimately, there was so much content. And was it really going to help them move the ball forward in these course outcomes to learn about using ether to cut off people's legs? It was not. And so she convinced me very kindly and gently. Now, who's to say that after we stop working together, I don't stick it back in? No, I'm just kidding. I'm just kidding. I'm not going to do it. I promise. I will not do it, but I won't. You have my word, Stacy. But anyway, so I'm just simply saying we definitely were super thoughtful, super intentional, super collaborative, super, just purposeful about every decision we made in this precious time that we had with these students. So I just wanted to share that.
I did Game of Thrones you. I did totally. I told you verbatim, kill your darlings.
I know, she said kill it.
I did, but it's a living course and it will grow and it will change.
No, I'm kidding. I'm not going to, it was a great example of how we have to make sure things are in alignment. And if they're not, we have to make a decision. Are we going to add a whole nother course outcome and a whole nother lesson outcome and all this? Well, no, we don't have the time to do that. So we have to say, okay, it's a sacred cow and it's got to go. So
yeah. I see a question. And actually it fits here perfectly because it's already been brought up. You've seen it on the screen, the workload calculator, could you share, what is it? Hold on. I'm going back to the questions. I saw it. Given the specificity of the SLOs and assessments using Bloom's, how do you determine the appropriate length and the relationship? Okay. That was a summary. I'm sharing my screen. And then I will also consider there's a question beneath there too. One moment, please. Let's share the correct screen. All right, let me do this. So I'm popping back into the about this course, and I want to also make sure that there was another question. One more question, share how you clearly communicate to students the direct connection. Yes, bingo, right here. This is one of those pet peeves I have, is that it's what I call time terrorism, and it is the invisible objective. The people forget we are not Hermione, nor do I ever want to be Hermione with time turners. It is inhumane. And so the very precise constraints of we have 2.5 weeks to do all of this stuff, time terrorism terrorizes and traumatizes learners. So you be as transparent at every part as you can. So I was able to bring tools that I use, and transparency appears everywhere. It appears in that resource tracker. You better believe point for point what a content by calculation, and that there's a bit of norming there, but I always add some stuff on. There is the course map. So we're talking about big picture lesson, but we also justify very precisely about this course, and Lady Leslie had me pull this up, but the workload time on task. What was the justification for these things? I did see that Cheryl popped in the Rice University course workload calculator. There is a second version. It's been around for a while. It is definitively one that I use. Is it the end all be all? Nothing will ever be the end all be all, because you are dealing with human beings with different needs. But we try. The nurses are going through so much stress as it is, and a learner. So we try to be transparent. There were 3 things. 2 of them included the justification. Why are we allowed to do this? Because we have to decompress resentments before they even get here. How am I going to do this? Well, here's a why. And this is your only experience during this time. You've been prepared for it. So when we do the 3-week, 3-credit-hour course, we are allowed instructional hours of 40 within a week. Now, we specifically were kind in weeks 2 and 3. We did not do this to people. And when we were doing the workload calculations using the workload calculator, we overestimated. So I upped the level of expertise expected. And actually, what I mean here, why not pull it up? Who knew? This is workload estimator number 2. So the duration of the week, some of these things I just never had to use. Like, what are my pages per week? Okay, well, my density, if you're looking at a website versus a PDF, if you're looking at a cheat sheet or a pocket guide, which are like course cards, you have to sometimes guesstimate on these. But with websites, what I will do is I will grab all the text and I will put it in Word and I will run an analysis about the level, so that I can decide, okay, is it new concepts? I have to depend on my librarians and my content specialist to tell me how much of this is new, depending on where they are in the course and their knowledge expectation. What's the purpose? Well, it depends on the outcome. Do they have to understand or engage? Well, we were heavily engaged in this class. They were demonstrating, they were analyzing, they were applying. So I was able to do these things. I could manually adjust, and my estimates would come out here. Your podcasts, your videos and things, timestamps are built in. Now, assignments and assessments are a different beast entirely. It's going to depend on what you use. We used H5P. I did times on resources on how long it takes people to answer quiz questions or this. We specifically did learning activities that looked exactly like the passport assessment, so they never had the invisible objective of technology getting in their way. They did not have to master technology to get the content. That was, at that point, that's a part of workload. You have to build in for your students technology mastery. Make it a no stakes, increase, and then allow it to just be a part of the environment. So we did that. I was able to calculate by research, okay, for that kind of question, it usually takes about that much time. Early, you saw how we did the grade breakdown and how many prompts we were allowed to have. Therefore, with that many prompts, I was allowed to calculate for that kind of prompt, we would allow 90 seconds. Or nursing has its own, you have your own rubric, you have your own calculator for how much you give on questions. So that's how we built in that workload. I think that addresses both of those questions about how we were transparent and how we calculated. Those are huge tools, huge. We are at a place that the panel can kind of conclude, because we've got 2 other things that we really want to do with our people here. And this includes, we're going to open up some breakout rooms. So our librarians are going to have a place. So Messina and Megan, Leslie, our content specialist, also nurse, is going to have a room. I am going to have a room. I'm your learning architect, your instructional technologist. I do hold both of those roles. And you feel free to vote in here. I'm curious about who we've got in our room with us. Your content specialist can include of course, our instructors and our nurses, and that's your area. It does not mean that because you have this role, you have to go see that human being. This is a crew. If you want to know how to work or what you would do with a librarian, because I saw in the chat, oh, we're going to ask the librarian this, go see them. Okay. Then afterwards, we're going to call everybody back. We want to do the practical Q&A. So if you've got a very precise thing, it's like, how would I work with a crew on this very specific thing we've got? When we come back together, we want you to give it to us and let's think tank. Does that make sense? Okay, I am opening the rooms. I'm also going to play some music in case you need a little pause, a couple of minutes to collect your thoughts of all the stuff you've heard and write down some things you want to know. And then we'll start. You get to choose your room as you see fit. And we will see you. Yes.
I wanted to say that in the librarian room, I'm going to show 2 accessibility tools that we use to check for accessibility. So I have those pulled up and ready if that's something anybody, we didn't get to that yet. So I will have 2 tools for accessibility checking in there to share.
Yeah, great. Sweet and wonderful. Then we will see you soon. And of course, I got to play a song.
It's sunshine life for me. If I could get away from this cloud over me, seems to just follow me around. It's sunshine life for me. If I could get away from this cloud over me, seems to just follow me around. Now there's a good life I had for free when you're out in the country. That's what I could use if I could get away there soon. It's sunshine life for me. If I could get away from this cloud over me, seems to just follow me around. There's a good life had at sea. If you're not in the Navy, that's the life for you. Sail away, Raymond, sail away. I'm always for, just for me, always imposing, and I'd rather meet a tree somewhere out in the country. And it's sunshine life for me. If I could get away from this cloud over me, seems to just follow. It's sunshine life for me. If I could get away from this cloud over me, seems to just follow. It's sunshine life for me. If I could get away from this cloud over me, seems to just follow me around. And it's sunshine, and it's sunshine.
Hi, what we're going to do now? Hi, Catherine. Hmm. Sure. Are we supposed to tell anything?
La 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 la. Bum ba-dum bum dum bum bum ba-dum bum bum la 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 la. It's a sunshine life for me. If I could get away from this cloud over me, seems to just follow me around.
I just wanted to welcome you back. That's all. And I did get to see that people were talking. I am over here. Having opened the rooms, I get to see microphones, and I don't want to cut people off. We are back to have the practical Q&A. If you started talking about problems you wanted to solve, let's do it. Let's go. So let's field. What do you have for us? And let's figure it out.
So this is for us to interact now, to report.
Yes, absolutely.
So-
Our attendees, I saw that you guys were chatting about things. So if you were problem solving, let's continue.
I'll ask a question while others are thinking about the question they want to ask. As you were, like, what you're doing is fantastic. It's a lot. I just wrote, it's a lot to assimilate and kind of figure out how do you step into this. But I work with people sometimes who say, well, I was given this syllabus and that's what I'm going to do, which is a really different approach than designing something thoughtfully from the beginning. And I don't know if you have any thoughts about that. It's a hard, if you're a stretched faculty that's given a syllabus, that's often what you're going to do. How do you help someone move to the next step of more of this approach? If you have thoughts on that, I don't know.
I would love to hop in on that. And I'm going to be really transparent with you. When I was first given this course 2 years ago, that's pretty much what I was given. And I advocated for myself. It took 2 years to say, being super honest, I'm not going to do this for free. And I don't have the time to do this for free. I mean, I just don't have the margin or the time. And this was something extra I was doing. And so I advocated and had to go to the powers that be and say, what resources are available to me financially? Yes, but also the resources I can't. I mean, I'm a registered nurse faculty and I care deeply about my students, but I can't, the amount of time nor the expertise to create a course. And so I wanted to find out what resources do my university have for me to be able to partner with me to help me. And so I had to do an application and a proposal and go to this and write this and go to the provost office and write a thing and do the thing. And my university did eventually say, okay, I had to go to the university curriculum committee and propose why this course needed to be a course. And so I followed the steps and I did it. And I was able to then be afforded resource with Stacy, but also they gave me a stipend, a small stipend to be able to set aside to work for the course too. So in answer to your question, Amy, it's difficult but you have to, hopefully universities, and ours did. It was a process, but I was able to get that support because who has the time? There's no way. This has been a 9-month process and I have met with Stacy more than I have met with any other person in my work, and it's her time too. Mm-hmm. Messina and Megan are actually giving of their time. They did not get any resource support for this. They did this because they chose to be, and I'm so grateful to each of them because they didn't have to. They could have been like, I don't have the margin or the time, and I'm not going to help you do that. And so I just want to say thank you publicly to them because they didn't have to do that. And they, they're not getting extra paychecks for it either, So, and Stacy, I also know, had an allocated number of hours that she went far and above and beyond and over that. I 100% know that she did too. So
Let me just feedback what I'm hearing. One, the faculty member has to be really committed and want this.
yes.
Two, my second question was, how many courses are like this where you are?
How many courses are designed or how many courses are delivered like this?
How many courses, I guess, well, maybe both if they're two different answers.
Yeah, I honestly have no idea. I have no idea how many courses. I mean, I'm the only, this clinical is the only one of its kind at the College of Nursing.
Got it.
It is the only one of its kind. It is 100% unique. It is, but I do believe it's going to be a trailblazer and a pioneering course when others see it. So I think it's going to be that way. I do. But I don't know how many courses they allow or partner with faculty to be partner with an instructional designer. Stacy, do you know how many courses get created every year like this? I mean, not this.
Zero
process.
get created like this. This is my framework.
Yeah.
Zero. I will state that as a dark classroom framework. However, the University of Texas, Arlington is exquisite, and I've worked in a lot of universities.
Mhm.
Their process is exquisite. And I could pop someone right now and get the numbers for you. And we lost members from our team. We're not at full staff, but constantly going through and working with faculty at various levels of success, quite honestly. But it is continuous, and everybody's workload is at capacity. Blessed to have a director who is also time conscious and very good about allocations, but the process protects us as well. We have a culture that protects us. But as for this experience with the Motley crew, zero.
So I hope that in your spare time in the future, you'll write about this so that maybe others will
I already am.
inspired. You
Follow
already
that blog,
Okay,
and I'll put
perfect.
it in
That's
there. It's coming out now incrementally. I did start with the crew roles. You can check out the dark classroom mentality, what it means to be a piratical pedagogue. But really, there's so much. It is broken up, and a series is coming.
Great, thank you. I've already started sharing it with faculty and that I work with, so thank you.
Well, working with UTA as a contractor has been so rewarding culturally and everything. I've been dreaming about this crew for years. Reach out, please. I'm looking for crews.
And Amy, I just lucked into this. I mean, I'm saying I was very passionate about the course and wanting to create it, but having no idea when they assigned Stacy to this class, you never knew what it was going to turn out to be. And it could have been a totally different experience, but it does take, Michelle said, I think people underestimate the amount of work it is involved in making a quality course. And it's true. I mean, any of you who are faculty who have ever just even had to create a course, it's just it is so time consuming. And then the first time you do it, it's just, yeah. Which is why it was in terrible shape when Stacy first looked at it, because I was surviving it. Right. And I do feel like I gave quality content to my students. I do feel like I'm not, I did the best I could, but it wasn't online ready. It was just me delivering content to them, in person class, so the online structure wasn't there at all.
I have a question for you, Leslie. Now that you're on this end, because high contact's very savvy, yes, I knew for a fact within minutes that you were doing it, okay? Just from talking to you, you were doing it. I didn't know from the online class. Let me ask you this, though. With this course is coming up to run for the first time this May. So how confident are you, if at all, that you'll be able to sit back a little while you will still stay high context, but not have to be so, I am here, I need to flip this, I need to move this and manage in real time?
Oh yeah, it's going to be amazing. I mean, all the work's been done already. I mean, you know what I'm saying? And I think the next iteration of this course will be one that is not dependent on me. Not that this is even dependent on me really now, but we do have a flipped classroom model, but I think this could easily be converted to an online delivery. And And not the sim day and the observation, obviously, but the didactic portion can easily be done because it's set up so well. So I think it's going to be, you know, not stress-free because no brain, of course, is, but I think it's going to be smooth, very smooth.
You know, Leslie, to add to this, you know, I really like your idea of the flipped classroom, because that's kind of like, you know, that's where you can squeeze into this concern that Amy is bringing up, right? The faculty thinking that they are being overloaded with, you know, things to do. We don't have time for this. But see, if you design your class and you just kind of like, you know, let it go, for lack of a better expression, right? You don't have to like micromanage your students. You don't have to be standing behind them. Are you reading page 15 right now or what? You know, remember on Thursday, chapter 7 is due. You know, you just kind of like push it onto them and make them aware that, you know, hey guys, this is your responsibility to learn. You are going to be the ones who are the professionals in the future, right? So please step up to the plate, kind of a thing. That changes the dynamic. I know it's very hard for faculty to do because we like to take ownership and we are the protectors of that content, right? We would like to make sure that students kind of like, you know, we dole it out at certain increments. You know, week 1, week 2, week 3, let's make sure that we follow this. Flipped classroom really flips the idea on its head, and I'm always on the lookout to see how faculty can buy into the concept without necessarily realizing that they are buying into it, doing something new that's not necessarily called a new initiative that's going to be, you know, we have $300,000, so yes, go jump on it, you know, and we'll make it pretty for you. More of, you know, changes in philosophy, I guess, of who we are as faculty in the classroom and how to approach our student learning. So good, great comments. Gosh, I mean, really enjoying this. Thank you so much.
There's so much that we can say, and I want to do a time check because we are coming up to end of time.
Oh, yes, we are.
One of the things that I believe in is what's known as the ritual of the last word. This is out of democratic pedagogy and Irish Shore. And it's the idea that no matter how much flipping we try to do, no matter how much power we try to give learners and agency in our learning experience, we often completely undermine it by being the authority that is the last to speak.
That's right.
So the ritual of the last word is where I hush completely. Our panelists will probably stay relatively quiet. But what do you want to leave our time together with? And of course, Jarek will do his ending thing. But I go silent and I want to hear from the attendees. Where are you now? What do you want to leave us with? And a thank you.
Well, we spent great 2 hours talking about assessment of student learning. Friday morning, Friday afternoon for some of us, I suppose. Fantastic time. I really enjoyed every minute of it. That's very, very kind of you to share your expertise and bringing the program down to us with our students and their learning in mind. It's just very, very powerful. So thank you so much for taking the time to share it with us. Very grateful. Right on. So we are going to take some time off from our Friday SLO talks. Today I got a couple of emails about spring break, you know, and we're mindful of that. It's, you know, it's staggered, right, all over the country. So different people take it at different times. Some people already started last week. Others go, I don't know, maybe through Labor Day. I don't know how exactly it works, but it looks like we are on the time frame that calls us for you know, to pause a little bit. So that's what we are going to do for the next week or two. So thank you very much again, the panelists. We'll stay in touch. You know, we certainly would like to perhaps, Stacy, stay in touch with you specifically and see how your team has moved, and maybe you can give us an update, say, you know, a few months, maybe even a year from now, as to, you know, where you are with all this work. Because if there is something that can be said about higher education, you know, is that change is constant, and then what happens is that we are usually hearing from people who are at the outset of something. Something is about to happen. And then, as I mentioned earlier, some kind of a initiative, the funding expires or personnel changes or things happen, right? And things kind of like you tend to go sideways. So it would be good to have some kind of a continuity. And I really appreciate your sharing of the blog. We'll keep on reading, and like I said, we hopefully will stay in touch with you. So thank you again for all the sharing.